Let's talk about moving from just belief to knowing and why this is important to keep in mind when working with your spirit guides, improving your intuition, and moving forward on your path to higher consciousness and awareness. If you're new here, welcome back. I'm Leanna, a priestess for divine mother energies, a channeler, quantum hypnosis practitioner, and intuitive guide. If you're wondering why I haven't been channeling as much, it's because I'm in a holding period according to my soul and my guides, and I can still channel. There's just not as much of a need to channel after I finish that series, and we're kind of holding for the next step. However, I will still try to post some guided meditations and channelings whenever I feel the need to. So to get started, let's talk about some misconceptions or maybe some things that I see about working with your guides that I feel is a little bit off, or maybe some common beliefs. And while I don't think anyone ever says this anywhere, hopefully not, I think there might be a belief that they are there to make your life easy. And while they can assist you with navigating your life with more ease and navigating challenging situations and offering different perspectives that may be helpful, you probably didn't incarnate on Earth to only experience easy things. And you came here to grow and develop, which requires challenges and moving through challenges in order to evolve. And your guides are guiding you to the opportunities that you wanted to have or agreed to have for others here on Earth in order to help them. And not only to what you want, but also what needs you. So for example, the house that I'm in here, that I live in now, I feel like I was guided to because the land needed me more than I needed this specific house, in order to clear the land and heal the ley lines here, as well as some other weird things with the town that I live in. And there are definite pluses and positives that I love about living here, but I think that was one of the main reasons I was led to this house. So it's both. Good situation for me, good situation for the land, some work that I had to do to heal it. But and that guides can tell you everything all the time, exactly what you should do, and only the truth. They cannot. Sometimes they can't tell you certain things until you are close enough to them already, until you're close to knowing it yourself, until you're ready to know it, until you're ready for that experience. They also will not contradict your own beliefs, because this shapes how you experience your reality, unless you're ready for it. And also, as long as your belief is not overpowering their perspective, which we're going to talk about. They won't tell you exactly what to do, because they should always be honoring free will. They may offer suggestions, different perspectives, or information to help you make your own choices. And it's important to remember that their perspective is just their perspective and their point of view. And depending on the dimension, the frequency they're at, things are going to look very differently to them here about your experiences than what you're actually experiencing. So sometimes it may not always align with what you are comfortable doing as a human. And you should always trust that. So we're going to talk about shifting from belief to knowing and why this is important. So belief is an acceptance that something may be true, or having faith in something. A knowing comes from your full consciousness, your full awareness. And to me, belief is held in the mind and knowing is held in the heart, at least what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about knowing something because you looked it up in an encyclopedia and knowing it to be a truth. That's another thing. Truths, especially as you're on your intuitive journey or higher consciousness journey, there are different pieces of the same truth that look differently depending on your point of view. So you could either say nothing's true or everything's true, because there is a whole range of experiences, of potentials, of timelines where things are happening. So there are many truths, not just one. And so I'm going to share my personal experiences with having to move, or realizing the need to move from not just believing, but also to knowing. There's been a few moments, but I'll share the important ones. So a big part of my intuitive journey, so I had my big psychic awakening in August of 2023. I was more open to spiritual intuitive practices, energy healing, and had done my own energy healing work, dealing with my own traumas and woundings before this point. But I had my major psychic awakening in August of 2023. And one of the practices that I learned how to do safely was using a pendulum and a grid to talk to my guides. So using appropriate clearing and protective and shielding practices before you open up the channel with the pendulum and grid. This is really important because even with doing this, you can still have interference from beings that are not your higher self or your guides, that aren't always who they say they are. So knowing how to set those protective and shielding practices, as well as knowing what it feels like when the being, the energy that's coming in, is different. And I really enjoyed learning how to use the pendulum. I believe it was a necessary step for me to develop my intuition. It helped me start to realize my own telepathic abilities outside of being in hypnosis and channeling different beings. It also opened me up to different ways of connecting, and it helped my guides teach me things or bring through different activations or things I didn't want to bring through telepathically, like names and numbers. Now, I would probably not recommend fully. I think it's a great step to use if that's what you're called to, if you feel aligned to it. But I probably would not recommend using the pendulum if you feel like you already have that internal intuitive knowing. But like I said, it could be a good step. But you can become too reliant on it and kind of get stuck with using it. And I think it's, you have different periods throughout your journey, different cycles, different things that happen where you need some validation, but learning not to rely on it too much. And I realized throughout using a pendulum that, at least for me personally, it could create more confusion at times. And not because other beings were coming in, because I knew how to feel this, I knew how to protect this. I clear entities and foreign energies from people and have a pretty strong protective practice. But because my own belief, my mind, would impact how the information comes through. And this can be true with most things as you are developing the practice of allowing your analytical mind to recede and releasing expectations, which is an important learning ability to have, especially if you are guiding other people intuitively or psychically, to release expectations, because you don't know what their situation is or what may come through. So you don't want to have expectations or assumptions around that. But for me, if I believed something strongly, depending on my guides couldn't correct it if I believed it so strongly, unless I specifically made sure to check. Is this true? Is this, or is this my mind? So for me, my mind, my beliefs were influencing what was coming through on the pendulum. And this can happen too with channeling, with hypnosis sessions. Your mind can influence what can be brought through. So maybe how your higher self is bringing it through, because they don't want to contradict how you perceive your reality, and you're not ready for that yet. Or because your mind, as a filter, is not letting it come through. And this is important to keep in mind. And you hear about the art of belief for manifestation and other practices, which is important. And it's even more important that you believe in what is soul aligned. And when it is soul aligned, that is no longer a belief, but a knowing. Knowing that that desire or outcome or timeline is for you because that is what your soul wants. That is not to say that you cannot create an outcome for you through a belief and action that is not soul aligned, because you definitely can. Might be a little more challenging, might require a bit more effort, but it will also keep you or get you farther away from your soul alignment, which will make itself known at some point by the way you feel, the way you experience, or events or things that present themselves that might present some obstacles. And just for an example of this, one time I knew there was a strong possibility of a friend inviting me to travel for an event, intuitively knew. So I decided I was going to believe in it. I was going to believe it was going to happen because it was the potential timelines, it was soul aligned, and I really, really wanted it to happen. So I kept believing and believing, even when at a point I felt in my soul that it had changed, that it was no longer aligned, that the other person had chosen differently. But I thought if I kept believing, it would still happen, that I could make it happen. And I forgot that I can't force things like that when it comes to the choices of others, and that the belief wouldn't change it. And it doesn't mean that that opportunity wasn't for me, but the specific way that I would receive it had changed. So knowing this is for me, but releasing the expectations of how it would appear in my life, at least where it involved specific people. And after this experience not coming through, I was very disappointed. And my primary guide at the time, because now my primary guide is me, my soul, at the time told me I believed too much. And when he said that, I was offended. I was a little hurt. And I was like, I thought I was supposed to believe, and you're always telling me to believe more. And I was offended until I realized he meant that I knew when it was no longer going to happen. And when I knew it was no longer going to happen, that was when it was time to change the belief. And I needed to trust that knowing instead of trying to force something that wasn't going to happen. And now I already mentioned that your beliefs are held in the mind, and your knowings are held in the heart and soul. Because you unlock that knowing when you allow more of your consciousness and awareness to integrate in your body. Now, it is a mental universe, and belief and thoughts are very powerful for creation, and your beliefs can overpower your knowings. Your knowing in your heart that speaks to your soul alignment, that speaks to what your heart knows as true. But your beliefs can often be shaped by external sources, ideas, and concepts that you've heard before, and this may color what information you allow to come through. And your mind can play tricks on you. And believing in things is not bad at all. That is not what I'm saying, but I'm saying if you believe in something that is not aligned with your heart, your internal compass, your internal lie detector, you may be overriding that part of yourself and not allowing yourself to trust your own knowings. And so I believe it's a balance between the two until you feel like you're fully housed in that heart space, fully operating from your knowing. So balancing between the knowing and the belief. Sometimes having faith in the belief until it's validated, until you can trust your knowing, if that's where you're at on your journey. And like I said, your belief is your filter. Your knowing is your alignment. Beliefs can be knowings, but you have to be tuned into your heart to know when that is no longer the case for you, as things are always changing. As your alignment deepens with yourself, so too will your reception, your ability to perceive and feel your knowings. So how do you move from belief to knowing? It requires you to be in deep alignment with your soul and body. So again, clearing any foreign external energetic blocks, false beliefs that do not belong to you from your energetic bodies, from your physical body, and from your mind. Loving and integrating those parts of yourself that do belong to you and have been shamed or wounded or hurt or misunderstood. And shining consciousness on your body, integrating your consciousness with your body, anchoring it to your body and your body to the earth. And to learn the cues of how your system tell you it's knowing. My strongest clair is claircognizant, clear knowing, which is hard to prove, to validate sometimes. So you do have to have that belief in it. You have to have that belief in it and faith in it in order to get to the validation, to get to the confirmation. And then it's clairsentience and clairaudience. So I learned how to feel the energy or hear certain things, like how my guides feel in my body, how they sound, how it feels to have yes or no responses in my body, how it feels when something is aligned with me or not. And sometimes I'll wake up and I'll just know something about myself or about something I may experience with someone else, or I'll know something on a walk, know something has changed. And it takes time to align that, to trust that, to know your knowings. And so it is a practice. And practicing mindfulness meditations, even dancing to relax your mind, to get out of your analytical mind, more into that flow and connect to your heart so that you can release the expectations and the analytical part of your mind and allow more space for deeper perceptions, deeper awareness, and deeper consciousness to move through your body and receiving the information as is and not as you expect it to be. I do have a free inner compass meditation in my free resource library, which I'll link below, which can help you get started, and you can do that meditation and learn some different practices that you can keep practicing. And there's other guided practices on this channel that would also help you to align your consciousness with your body more and come more into your heart space that you can check out. And I felt this was important to share. If you have thoughts or comments, I'd love to hear them below. Please like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.